So stoked. Beautiful morning. Boat's going amazingly well. Hell yeah. This was how I felt arriving in Darwin. Now let's go back to the start of this trip. Good morning, friends. Oh, it's an early start for me today. It's 5:30, sun's still another hour away to come up. It's getting light though, and today we're off to Darwin. First time in Darwin for me, and it's about a 405 or 410 mile passage, so it should be 2 days and a bit. Leaving early, so hopefully I'll get there before night in 2 days' time. That's the plan. Let's see what happens. Learning by Doing presents The Mad Dash. Watch us every Tuesday morning on YouTube. Join me and multiple crew members as I take our Crowther catamaran from Sydney, Australia all the way up around the top to Lombok in Indonesia. Made possible by our patrons. Thank you very much, you guys, and also our sponsors here on board for this trip. Thanks so much, guys. Right, so I've just Alright, I'm still a bit foggy in my brain. So I've just motored out of the bay I was anchored in yesterday, Marchimbar Island. And it was still dark when I motored out, but I just followed my track that I went in on. I never had less than 6 meters going in, but there was coral around, but I zoomed right in and just followed that track out at about 3 knots, just creeped out of there. Not what I'd like to do. Ideally you'd want to see stuff, but that would have meant waiting another 4 hours probably. And I was very careful coming in because I knew that I would, I'd planned this in advance, so I knew that I'd be coming in. So I was looking around on the way in, and as long as I followed my track on the way out, as long as there's no fast growing coral, I knew I'd be fine. Bit of a risky move, and don't do that at home. That's just a sketchy Vernon move, but anyway, I got out safely. There's a fair bit of current here. I'm motoring at 2,000 revs and I'm doing 7.5 knots. I do have the main up. Not doing much though, there's only 5 knots of wind. I'm hoping that when the sun comes up, the wind will pick up. This is sort of trade wind run across here. It should be good. Although I've read in this guidebook that at night they do tend to drop out. But then sometimes you get land breeze, so we'll see. Hoping I won't have to motor much on this trip. If necessary, I'll just sail slowly and arrive in Darwin at night. I'm sure that the surveying has been done very precisely in Darwin, so you can sort of trust the maps pretty good, I think, and I could come in at night if I had to. Hopefully a bit of wind and Trade Runner will just get us ahead of schedule and we'll arrive at lunchtime. Anyway, let's see what happens. So we've got one engine off and we've got the screecher out and we're doing 6.2 knots, but not much of that's coming from the wind because there's only 6.5 knots of wind, but that's alright. Sun just came up, hopefully the wind will follow it. Beautiful sunrise. Wow, it's so it's reflecting off that cloud so strongly. You can probably see the beautiful light on my face. I probably look like a supermodel. Oh yeah, probably about time to get a coffee, I reckon, before, it's nice and calm out, and get a coffee, some muesli maybe, and just settle into this hard yakka. It's going to be a hard day. I'm joking. I finished another book yesterday. I think I started off with about 10 books for this trip, and probably finished them all by the time we get to Darwin. But yeah, storing a lot of useless knowledge in this head of mine. I'll have to do a purge at some stage. The ram will be full and I'll be just walking around as a zombie. Look at the sunrise. Ah, how beautiful is that water glistening there on the wake of the boat. I do like the sugar scoops, and when I'm going fast, if I'm doing over sort of 8-9 knots, the jet's coming out the back of the sugar scoops, pretty cool. Anyway, that's probably not going to happen today because we're a bit bloody slow. Let's go and get a coffee. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm the laziest coffee maker in the world. This is just ground coffee, like ground coffee beans. Spoonful of that, big spoonful of that. And then a little bit of sugar. Half a spoon of sugar. And that's it, folks. Bit of water. That's basically just instant coffee, but with proper coffee taste. And then the only downside is that it doesn't mix in like instant coffee does. So the last mouthful, you got to be a bit careful you don't get a mouthful of grounds. But actually, I don't mind a bit of that too. I just chew on them for a while and spit them out after. What a beautiful day. Actually light cloud around everywhere actually, but hopefully it hopefully clears up. Temperatures have been great. Temperatures has been well, perfect. One of the great things of sailing solo is you don't have to wear anything if you don't really want to. Well, when Marie's on board, well, it's the same rule really, but I mean when I've got crew on board I'm not wancing around with me tango out. So right, yesterday on the anchorage, got an all over tan, probably got a sunburn, but the temperature was perfect though. Just amazing for a bit of nudity. Well, we're ticking along. I guess we've probably done about, 15 miles or something. Had breakfast, I've been sitting in my beanbag here. My favourite spot when there's not too much waves around. It's a bit sunny though, I can't sit there too long. But yeah, it's nice in the morning and the evening. Anyway, we've got very little wind. And I decided to try and tune the boat as best I could. You know, I got time. Try and get as much out as I could in this light air. So I'll give you a rundown of what I've done. And I'm still sort of, I mean it's working I guess. We're doing reasonably fast. So what I've got it in wind vane mode, set to 112 degrees, which is a bit better than a beam reach obviously. You're not quite on course with that. It seems to be with this boat, anything more than 120 and the front sail, the head sail or the screecher is not really getting air anymore. The main sail is too big and it just blocks it. So then if you want to go deeper than 120 you have to make the decision, well, do I just sail with the full main? Which goes alright, but it's out of balance. The autopilot has to work a bit harder. Or do I turn around, drop the mainsail, and just fly under the screecher or eventually the Mr. Bullfrog, the spinnaker? So that's sort of the options. So what I've decided to do today is try and run a bit more angle so it sort of keeps me about on 120 and hopefully have a higher speed. That it'll make the off course sort of work. So we've got 10 knots of wind right now and we're doing 8. So I can't really complain at that. And I'll show you a bit what I've done. So I got the full main up, I've rotated the mast to the right angle, which by the way, I didn't know that from the start, but I've worked it out since a while now. Obviously when I rotate the mast, then the wind indicator is no longer accurate. There is a sensor you can put on that tells the wind sensor how much the mast is rotated. But right now I've probably got the mast about 20% rotated, which means that the wind sensor is going to be 20 degrees out on its wind reading. So it's just a matter of sort of remembering which side of the wind it's going to go. But anyway, that's all complicated stuff. None of you probably have got rotating masts. It's a very, never on monohulls and very seldom these days on cats that have them. Just sort of racing boats really have rotating masts. But anyway, I've got one and I've decided to use it and it does make a difference. Another adjustment possibility I have on this boat is the prodder, and that's where the screecher is attached. It's on a swivel, so I can actually move that from left to right. In this case, I've moved the prodder over to the windward side to pull the sail more around the front of the boat. That way, getting more possibility of having a downwind angle. On this tack, I can't move it over as far as I would like to without having to basically take the anchor out of its position and put it up on the trampoline. That's a bit of an issue. On the other tack, I can move it right over so that the sail is right out the side, but on this tack, the anchor actually jams up against the prodder. So I don't know if I'll figure something out with that or just put up with it on this tack, but is what it is today. So I've actually turned the autopilot back to normal heading mode now, just trying that out for a while, but it seems to work better. So on wind vane mode, what it was doing was, it was sailing at the right wind, obviously, which was good, good speed. But because I got a lot of sail up and we're getting further away from land, we're 25 miles from land now, it's not really swell, but there's a few waves starting to form, only small ones, but because this boat's so light, it catches those waves. As you see in past videos, you know, we get 15, 18, 19.8 knots was the max it got, and we never had more than a metre swell. So what it was doing was, it would catch a wave and it would go from, we're sitting on 8.5 constant now, in 10 knots of wind. I'm pretty happy with that. Anyway, we're sitting on 8 to 8.5 constant. It would catch a wave and go to 11 or 12 knots, which obviously meant you've got a lot more apparent wind. So then the autopilot would go, oh, that's over the 115 or whatever he set, and so then it would bear away. Which meant that then we'd be, you know, the sails would be flogging because we're on the wrong angle, and then we'd slow right down. And then it would see that, well, you slow right down, you lose all your apparent wind, and then it'd be like, oh, the wind's gone off. And so it would steer back again, and so it was just constant sort of every 5 minutes, going from 6 knots to 12 knots, and then the sails banging, and then going again. So basically what I'm doing now, I've just set a course that's at about 110 degrees, and it seems to be holding that quite well, and we're sitting on a much more stable average. I was just having a shower inside. Now, one of the perks of sailing solo, I got heaps of water. Anyway, I was having a shower inside, having a bit of a clean up, and I heard this little fella, I heard this bang, and I was like, what's that weird noise? Yeah, this little bugger here. Obviously, he's a young one. You can see by his mottled feathers, he's not white or black. There's a young fella, and probably got a bit tired out here today. Having to go fishing for his first time, maybe, but yeah, I'll give him a ride for the night, and then yeah, he'll save a bit of energy, and actually by tomorrow morning we'll be way closer to land as well, so you can get a ride back to land. Jolly good morning, top of the morning. It's about 6 o'clock. The sun came up a little while back. Your mate Fred had a good night. I had a good night. We're on a zag now. We've been on a zig for the last 30 miles. I'll show you what we've been doing. Because it's the wind's been from a weird angle, I've had to do some zigging and zagging to keep moving. So as you can see, I just turned not long ago when I woke up. As you can see, we're wing on wing. So this is the slow, this is the zag when we're wing on wing. Pretty much dead downwind. And we're a bit slower. The only thing is we've got the waves right behind us then, so we get a few surfs. But we're definitely a bit slower. And then the reason I was zigging was to then get apparent wind. So I'd go off at 120 and put both sails over one side, and we'd get quite a bit more wind and quite a bit more speed overall. But obviously if I keep going that way I'll hit land, so I couldn't keep doing that. But so we come across that gulf now, 250 miles, and now we're never really going to be that far away from land. We're sort of turning 268, so we're heading due west right now, and we're going to turn slightly south. Then we'll cut down through some islands completely south to get down to Darwin. We'll won't be downwinds anymore, so we'll have more power, we'll have more apparent wind, more pressure. Man, what a beautiful day. You couldn't really ask for more than this. Just cloudless skies. I guess I got about 12 to 13 knots. It's showing 9 knots apparent, but we're doing a bit of speed. There we go, just hit 12. Tiny little waves. They have increased a little bit during the day just because we've got further offshore. We're sort of in a gulf now, so there's more fetch. I would say I'm about, I don't know, 100 degrees to them. So we're catching every now and again, and we'll catch a little wave, but it's crazy. Like, obviously if I show you the waves, so here there's a couple coming now, but obviously on camera they look small anyway, and they are really small. But it's just funny with this boat, we'll accelerate, so we're doing 8.2 right now, and you'll catch a wave. So that was one there, 10.5. But there was no wave. It's just a little bit of energy somehow in the water. And I think we hit 14 sometime today. No idea why, it didn't feel like it. But yeah, pretty crazy. This boat just doesn't need much to get going. Pretty cool. I've got 100 square meters of sail out. That's the maximum I can fly. I don't have any more sail than that. In these conditions I would need a big A2, a big 75 meter or even 85 meter sort of spinnaker, jenica sort of thing. Look at that, mate. In the back. That's a pretty good landing. You didn't like it out there, did you? You know, your wings are all hanging down. My buddy Fred, he flew off, did a few laps of the boat, and then decided life wasn't that good out in the oceans. Come back. We're getting close to some islands up here, another 20 miles and we'll hit some islands, so maybe he'll be stoked to go and land there for a while. I think he's just really tired. Obviously I can't feed him anything, he's a seabird, he just wants fish. I can't give him bread or muesli or anything like that you'd give to a seagull. Oh yeah, no, he's just along for the ride. It often happens out here. Pretty cool though. Good morning. Whew. Bit fuzzy. Bit of a hangover, I would say. Bit of a hangover. Sleep deprivation at its finest. So you can hear I'm motoring. I'm motor sailing though. I'm doing 8.2 knots. You might be thinking, why would he be motor sailing at that speed? Well, I've got 9 knots of wind and I could be sailing, but I'm really trying to get through this passage. I'll show you here on the map. So actually I'm passing my 2 islands. No, I've actually got 3 islands down here. As you can see, Northwest Vernon, East Vernon and Southwest Vernon. But the reason motor sailing basically is because there's a 2.5 to up to 3 knot current that funnels through here. And it's in my favour right now. But in about 2 hours it won't be, and there'll be 3 knots against me. Then I'll really be motor sailing, but I'll be more like at 4 knots. So I've got both engines on, I'm cruising speed on the engines, and I'm sailing. Once I get past my islands, the bay opens out and goes down to Darwin Bay or whatever it's called down in there. And then any current I'll be a bit on the side of and it won't be a big problem. It's just really forced through this gap here, so that's why I'm trying to rush through there. About 5.5, 6 hours to go till Darwin. Pretty happy to get there actually. Yeah, as I said, I'm feeling a bit sleep deprived. When you're offshore, as in 100 miles offshore, it's so easy to get enough sleep because there's no one around, there's nothing to hit. There's no weird weather, it is what it is. There's no like land breeze, there's no currents from tides, nothing like that. So it's really easy to get your sleep. You just look ahead the next 15, 20 miles, there's nothing to hit and there's no one around. You can easily take 30, 40, 50 minutes sleep. And you just do that throughout the day and make sure you get your 10 hours sleep during the day, and it's very easy and you feel fine. Yee-hoo! We are honking along on this last leg into Darwin. We've got about 15, 16 miles to go. We're on 50 degrees to the wind. And we're just cruising, but it's flat water. Beautiful last little sail. I got my energy back now. I was feeling tired before, but wow, this is cool. Just like timed it perfectly too, through the narrow part there. Got the last little fart out of the Vernon Islands. So now we're just cruising along, and in about 2.5 hours we'll be anchored in Darwin. Let's go and have a look up the front. So stoked. Beautiful morning. Boat's going fucking amazingly well. Hell yeah. Right guys, that is me anchored up safely here in Fanny Bay, Darwin. Thoroughly enjoyed that passage. That was really, really cool. Hope you guys did as well. Massive shout out this week to our patrons, as every week. But this week, a very, very big appreciative thumbs up to you guys. A lot of you will probably have heard we had a new arrival this week. Massive news for us, huge change in our lives, and yeah, your support is more appreciated than ever. Next week we won't be having a video about sailing. We will be doing a live video on YouTube, so join us for that, same time as this one, Friday night. The next videos after that will be obviously Darwin to Indonesia. All right, tune in for that, and we'll see you hopefully live next Friday night. Thanks guys, over and out.